Ricky Tomlinson is known to millions as the armchair-loving dad in sitcom The Royal Family. However, it's a far cry from his own life as a campaigner for justice, which saw him spend 2 years in prison in the 1970s.
Well, that jail sentence changed Ricky's life forever, and those prison experiences led comedian Johnny Vegas to write and direct a new one-off drama based upon them. We'll hear from Johnny in just a moment, but first here's a look at Ragged.
Why aren't you dressed?
I don't belong in here, so I don't belong in that prison clothes.
Convicted of unlawful assembly and conspiracy to intimidate.
Send me home, where I belong.
And no evidence needed, for a 2-year jail sentence.
No Coco, unless you're dressed.
You're really pushing this Coco thing, aren't you?
I care about your quality of life.
Well, I'm really touched, but I don't belong.
Yes, belong here. You won't dress. You won't eat. But what's denying yourself a quiet night's sleep gonna prove to anybody?
No, it's you lot. That's after the quiet night.
Wow, and Johnny's here now. This is part of the Playhouse Presents series, and it's on Sky Arts 1. And it really is, it pushes the boundaries, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's quite a grown-up departure for me, this, doing something this dramatic, but it's a really important story and a really intense part of Ricky's life that I think so few people
know about.
are aware of.
How much did you know about it beforehand?
I knew little bits, but it's funny because it was through Ricky that we adapted the Ragged Trousered Philanthropist, the book, for Radio 4 a few years ago, and then it was only really when I read his autobiography that I realised quite what he'd been through. I knew he'd been incarcerated. I never knew that he'd been on hunger strike up until that point, and quite what had gone on. Andrew Lynch, who actually wrote the screenplay, who's a good friend of his, we knew there was a story in there, and our big thing is we've been trying to get Ragged Trousered onto TV and hitting brick walls, but this was like, well, there's a story within how Ricky discovered it. I think everybody who loves that book has a story
the
behind
Ragged Trousered Philanthropist.
Yeah, it's that kind of life-changing book, and I think it sets you models for life. And it was the book that was given Ricky in prison.
Who gave it to him?
It was one of the governors who was an ex-bricklayer himself. And
Ricky was a plasterer.
When you watch it, and Ricky was sort of fighting against the system constantly, and suddenly there was somebody that made this breakthrough, and the breakthrough was giving him this book. And I think Ricky would say himself, he had a lot of anger, and it was some of it misdirected.
Yeah.
And this just gave him, a little bit of focus and a love for the book that stayed with him.
So why was he in prison? How come he was incarcerated?
Well, it's quite a complicated story, but it was the Shrewsbury pickets. He was running the union there and led those the pickets that day. And from what he's unearthing now, because Ricky, this is an ongoing fight for Ricky. He's been on soldier. He's trying to get paperwork released that is still there's a block on why it was done. But they were charged on a law that I think hadn't been instigated in something like 200 years, which meant that there was no evidence needed. And he was told, and the jury was told that he's found out since, that they wouldn't do time. If a guilty verdict was passed, it would be a fine and they'd get sent home.
Really? So within this, you've obviously got the young him in prison there that we just saw in the clip, and then he is kind of the narrator of it, and there's the flashbacks to.
Yeah, it's quite. It's not complex once you watch it, but the notion being that the older Ricky, the post-Ragged Trousered Philanthropist Ricky, is watching his own story unfold, and he's in the cell watching these events. Watching his younger self and how he behaves, but it's the older, wiser Ricky, and I think the Ricky that we all associate with the royal family and everything else. You know what I mean? He's seen himself relive this tale, and everything takes part within the cell, all the flashbacks.
But it was quite difficult for him to do at times, was it? Sort of looking back at that time on his life.
I think it's really difficult for him, and I think for Stephen Walters playing him, I think it's a lot more pressure on him when you've got the actual person there in the scenes watching you. I mean, Ricky was amazing because I think Stephen did such a good job. All he did was offer him encouragement in doing it, but I'd be so nervous.
Yeah.
So what sort of a director are you then?
I'm a people person. You know me. I'm certainly not a technical director. I was really lucky. I had a very good team. I had the same director of photography who did me Little Cracker.
Oh, yeah.
And he's fantastic at sort of going, if I've got an idea, he'll let me know if it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
He'll come up and discuss lenses, and that's the point where I just drift off in my head. So when you get a good team together, you let everybody do what they do. You've got some ideas. And all I like doing is working with the actors and just going in and sort of tweaking things and saying, how about coming at it from this angle or a certain, think about, you know, where he is at this point in the story, because you're looking at the whole thing. They're caught up in that scene. But I love going on and talking to them. You come back, you watch it on the monitor and you go, that's exactly how
I wanted it to be.
pictured the scene.
Satisfying.
When it was, you know what I mean? It's wonderful, and it's great having actors who can act.
And what about you then? Are you writing your autobiography at the moment?
I am, yeah.
How far?
It is actually coming out this year.
Is
I
it?
think I've been on shows for the last 3 years going, yes, I am working on it. It's currently in development.
So you're under pressure now because you've got a release date?
I have, yes. It will be out this Christmas. It's coming out in September.
So you're having to lock yourself away to do it?
I have done that, yeah. This is effectively day release.
Is it?
Yeah,
You said
I'm
it's...
taken away. I mean, publishers got one of them ankle bracelets. They know where I am.
You said it's cathartic and horrific in equal measure, writing it.
It is. Well, look, like all comics, there's that laughter within the dark moments, but it's also an investigation into how Johnny Vegas came about. I started off as Michael Pennington, who I thought I'd created this character to do stand-up, but actually it was a lot of things that we bury in ourselves. That give me a beer and a microphone, it finds a way out. And eventually so there's a voice of Johnny as well as myself within the book, and by the end of the book in '97, Johnny's taken over completely. So
when
he's in charge.
When it's finally out, you'll come back and
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
discuss it
yeah.
then.
I will, but you'll probably be sitting further down the couch, you know, going, hi. Are you well?
Really, once
please,
you've
please say that
it's
you're
going to be
well.
a scary read, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Change of perceptions.
No, it's good. I mean, it's funny, you know what I mean? The laughs are there, but there's a serious point to the book, and I never wanted it to be a stocking filler. It's not a cash-in on do it now, do it while you... I think there's enough of a story to tell from sort of the priesthood to qualified potter to what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? To what I'm doing now. So,
I can't wait. That sounds very good.
That'll be later in the year, assuming you're finished again. And Ragged is tomorrow at 9:30, Sky Arts 1 and also on Sky Go.
Yeah, and I have to plug, Billy Bragg was wonderful because that was
the music for it.
Yeah, that's right.
He did. He effectively gave us access to his back catalogue.
Yeah.
And it was one of them projects, you know, where you're going, the money isn't great, but it's a passion piece. And Billy came through for us. And then Billy came back and we had a little chat about making a music video for Billy.
You've done the video
And you've
for
done it.
for
Yeah,
him
and
as
it's
well.
brilliant. It's got a cracking cast in it. It's out now. It's viral, but it's a lovely little song and video.
We'll
so
have a look.
if you get the chance, check it out.
Thank you, mate.
Thank
you.
you.
Just what's the it's DIY
Yeah, the songs. It's Handyman Blues, and it's about
Handyman
people who are
Blues, that's the one.
creative
Yeah, that's the one.
within the song, but aren't necessarily any good at doing practical stuff around the house. And there's lots of
familiar.
us
Sounds like me.
who have that feeling. You know, where your dad's just stood there going. I remember years ago, I went trying to help my dad on a job, and he went, "Why don't you go and help your mum with the key?" And it stays with you for years. So within the video, it's a little gang of well-known faces who are getting together for the
Brilliant.
self-help group
Thank you,
and a
Johnny.
DIY stuff.
Well, we've got to stop it there,
Sounds
unfortunately,
good.
which we've run out of time. Which is always a shame. There's so much more to ask you, but thank you. Thank you
you.
very much.
See you
Competition
soon.
time now.
Thank you.
Cheers.